let's now take a look at the final version of the narrative that we've been looking at. The final, or what I'm calling here, the better than the rest example. And we'll look at why it's better than the rest. It starts off the same way. The first paragraph is no different than the first paragraph in the previous version. Today was the day when I would learn to write my first narrative. Establishes an expectation for the reader. In other words, it gives the reader a main idea, or an idea about where the story is headed. The rest of the description is the same. We have the expression of the speaker's emotional state or mood, the feeling of not being prepared, and I've added here what we call an ellipsis, because I'm omitting the rest of the description, which I have not changed in this version. As we move on, the next paragraph is also the same as the previous paragraphs, with the exception of the last sentence, rather the last few sentences. We left off right here. The speaker had no idea what to write about, but luckily, the teacher showed us how to brainstorm a few techniques. And so, with that, the reader had the impression that there might be a solution to the problem at hand, and yet that solution was never developed. In the final version, it will be. So after learning how to brainstorm a few techniques, soon enough, the speaker says, I was able to come up with a topic. Now we're getting somewhere now we're making progress toward the resolution of the story. So next I got to work writing my first draft. When I read the draft back to myself, my heart sank. Aha. Now we have another rather intense expression of feeling here. What does it mean when somebody says their heart sank? Well, it could indicate panic or some other form of intense fear. Or maybe even, as was expressed before, dread. Why did the speaker's heart sink? There were so many errors. Now we're confronted with a second problem, which just adds a little more to the story to be interested in. It gives the reader a reason to keep going. In the final paragraph, we have at last our resolution. The speaker finds a way to overcome the challenge. It's okay, I told myself. You know how to do this. Take it one step at a time. And you can see here, I'll just point out here, that the slanted writing, which we call italics, is meant to convey that we're looking here at the speaker's thoughts. They're not speaking out loud. This is what they're thinking. This is a device that writers sometimes use to help us get an insight, to give us an insight into the mind of the speaker. So we will interpret that as the thoughts of the speaker. You know how to do this. Take it one step at a time. I took a deep breath, then went over each mistake one by one and corrected it. Before I knew it, I was writing my final draft. This wasn't going to be as difficult an assignment as I thought it would be. So there we have it. The speaker faced a challenge, the challenge of not knowing what to write about. Actually, if we think about it, we can go back even further. The initial challenge, you might say, was just that feeling of unpreparedness, not knowing what to do, feeling inadequate to the challenge of the homework that the speaker knows is coming. By the time we get to this paragraph here, we have a second problem, which is also overcome. And by the time we get to the end of the essay, the story has come to a full, defining conclusion. Or as I said in the last video, a definite ending. The reader doesn't have a sense anymore that they've been left hanging. The speaker has told a story of a particular day on which they faced a dreadful challenge, found a solution to it, which gave rise to another problem, and then managed to overcome that problem as well. So that's what propels, you might say, the story forward and keeps the reader interested right up until the very end. Your narrative should share those characteristics. I hope you found some of these tips helpful, and if not, be sure to leave some questions or comments in the comments section below to give us an idea of how we might help you further in your writing adventures. Okay, see you in the next video.